Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, classic plus non-classic. This is episode number 2769 and Doubleshot number 63, excuse me. I have a Starman trade and a Captain Marvel trade, DC's Captain Marvel. First that we have is Starman Omnibus, Volume 6. This book contains issues 61 to 81. Those of you who are curious, though, at the time, were thinking, wait a minute, didn't this run out of the end for 80 issues? It did. 81 is Blackest Night. I'll get to that. So, the first 12 issues is the Grand Bootleg storyline. It's a 12-part story arc that starts issue 61 to 70 because Jack Knight has come back from space. And the whole city is in chaos. So, basically, this is all basically a plot concocted by Simon Cupp, the guy who they mentioned back in the previous story with the whole thing with Shade in the future. So yeah, everything is all peaceful. Everyone to Elongated Man, who's there too, along with the current handsome lady. Actually, this is the original one. Yeah, basically you have her here, and Black Condor's here too. By the way, we still have James Roberts who does these amazing issues here. With Peter Sandberg on the artwork. The collection cover is Tony Harris. I think he does the cover art, but he doesn't do the interior art at this point. Nope. So, there's a picture here about Starman of 1951. That is for the final 5 issues here. So, we have this big humongous plan happening here, and the JSAers, who not be reunited, the JSA at this point. And of course, Starman gets, and of course, we also have people get killed here. It is a massive storyline, and it takes almost like a full year of storytelling. Yeah, and of course, basically, David Knight has the Starman, the 70s, basically come in to chip in too for this big humongous story. It's like a massive riot going on here. And of course, Adam Strange gets involved, who sends one of the villains off into space. Yeah, and here it is. Simon Cupp, the Shade's arch nemesis. And the guy who was indirectly off-screen responsible for what happened to Shade in the future. Yeah. Cupp apparently hid inside of Shade for years. All because he hates the Shade because he's a dwarf. So he's followed the Shade around for a long time, and there's also a thing here with the Spider. Dr. Frost is in here too, along with Elongated Man, Ragdoll, Dr. Fate. Seems like everybody's getting involved with this, including Solomon Grundy. Another thing with Hamilton Drew. Jack reunites with his fiance, of course, needing a plan to take care of this. Yeah, the current Spider. This is the one here. This is not the previous one. I love that. And of course, the JSAers. Well, they're not exactly the JSA, but they reunite the storyline. And of course, at one point, Shade tricks Nick. Oh, Cup does it. Oh yeah, he does. Yep. And then Ted Knight gets involved with fight with Dr. Phosphorus. And then this is something interesting though. In the penultimate issue storyline, of course, Will Payne comes in too, helps out, and then you have Simon Cupp holding, I think it's Nash, the current Mist, second Mist, the one who's the mother of Jack Knight's child, basically their son. And then Simon Cupp is killed by the original Mist. And of course, it seems like Mist about to win. Jack really wants to hold his son. And Nash is like, no, you're not going to hold your son. That is until her father shoots her and is like, here's your son. Now you can hold him. When she's dying. Yes, the Mist murdered his own daughter because his son died. And the thing is, his son murdered David Knight. And then, of course, it's revealed throughout this final issue here that Ted Knight has got radiation poisoning. And he has humans live because he got into a fight with Dr. Phosphorus, of all people. So, he's like, let me go up a blaze of glory. And Jack's like, oh, before you go, Here's your grandchild. He's like, the future. Hand the child back up. And then, of course, the Shade takes basically Jack and I think it was like one person on the roof with him. I think it's who's with him here? Oh, it's the elongated man. Takes him off the roof while Ted has this basic special device he made. He takes him, the original Mist, in this building, which I think evacuated, up into freaking space where it explodes, killing both of them. And this is the end of Ted Knight and the Mist. The Mist never returns after this. He is dead. I don't think he's even popped in the current continuity. I think Ted Knight has, but not this guy. Nope. So, basically, then, right after this all wraps up, yeah, Snow wraps over 72, and then for the remaining 8 issues of this run, 81 is a bonus issue, it's apparently off-screen, this following things happened. The reformation of the JSA in New Beginnings story arc, which James Robinson wrote that. You had Wobbledot grown-ups. I think it was a couple of small things happening. That happened between those 2 issues alone. And then, like, okay, so it's also revealed that Sadie is pregnant with Jack's second child. Which really the end of the thing is actually a girl. And of course, she runs with her brother, Will Payton. Oh yeah, there's also a funeral service for Ted Knight where the eulogy is, well, of course, also Scalp Hunter. Matt, he dies. And of course, his brother becomes new commissioner of the Opal City Police Department. So here's who we give Ted's eulogy. First you have Jay Garrick. Then you have Alan Scott. Wildcat, of course. And then we have the original Phantom Lady, Sandra Knight, Ted Knight's cousin. The Shade, of course. The alien Starman. Yeah, and the whole thing with Will and Rihanna's with and then you have Jack basically give a, oh yeah, and also Sadie has left him. Of course, you'll look for her later. So, and then like right after the eulogy, issue 73. So we have a Western story here of kind of how the O'Dare started. And then 75 is a great issue. Jack's changing his son's diaper. And this is when they mention the whole thing of like the JSA reforming. Let's see. There's the Wobbledot grown-ups, Stargirl. It's like various stuff happening here over the course of between 2 issues. Yes. So, and then of course, then we have one of O'Dares get married to his girlfriend. Superman shows up because this is sort of a follow-up to the Space Ventures where Jack met his father and grandfather while fighting a couple guys. It's a really good standalone issue and would not be, sadly, the last time James Gunn would write Superman because he would write him several years later as part of the Krypton stuff. And then we lead into the last time with David in issue 76. And of course, basically, Ted's here too, along with Kent Nelson, the original Dr. Fate. Yeah, because apparently the curse has been lifted. So, yeah, he gets to retire as Starman. Yeah, and then, of course, like, he apparently remembers Diana. Of course, Ted goes back to being, well, young. And despite the fact he was friends with Diana, he never really loved her. Just basically was he in the moment. And it's up with the various Starman. But then, like, okay, they solve all the mysteries. And, of course, he said the best memory he had of Starman is team up with Wesley Dodds and Sam, which I agree, was actually a really good story there. But like, okay, we have one small mystery left to solve. Who is the Starman of 1951? It's revealed over the course of the final issues of this book. Yeah, it's revealed right away that the Starman of 1951 is in fact David, who got this at the time travel. Of course, mentioned about Robot Man, and is also Dr. Midnight's here too. Basically, he's only here for 1 month and 1 year, one day. And the storyline is kind of wrapped up within just a couple issues. Yeah. By 79, of course. By 80, but 79, it's like, yeah, they kind of wrap this story up really good. There's also a thing here with Sylvester Pemberton when he could become the new Starman. But no, Ted Starman. and gets a new costume, becomes a member of leader of the becomes leader of Infinity Incorporated, and then leads the final issue where Jack goes back to the future thanks to Starman, Starboy, off the lead superheroes. And the only reason why this is here because it leads into his time with lead superheroes several years later. So in the final issue of the book, which is double sized, yeah. So basically, Jack goes look for his girlfriend. Clarence becomes the commissioner of the Opal City Police Department, and this whole thing here with this arrow, and they go, everything's like back normal thanks to John Zadara. Yeah, so, and Shade basically just gets sort of cured by Jack because his reference to the lead superhero stuff for the future, and then he just, well, as his retirement, he gives his staff and his jacket to Courtney Weapon-Worn, aka Stargirl. He wakes up his son and goes on a journey to go probably look for his girlfriend. And then we jump afterwards. And then we have the bonus Blackest Night issue where the Black Lantern Ring resurrects David Knight. Yeah, and I love the artwork. It's like so mysterious. Like, you have it's like a whole, it's basically in this museum dedicated to all the Starmen who have basically a Starman, like his whole history. I love this. James over this. And can you believe this issue came out 8 years after issue 80? Oh yeah, and also Hope decided in issue 80 that go journey a bit. And when she gets back, she's gonna ask the Shade on a date. And also she finds out in this issue here that his real name is Richard. Yeah, she had no idea the fact his real name was Richard or Dickie. Yeah, and there's also a tease of him possibly becoming Black Lantern. Nope, doesn't work because he's immortal. Yeah, it doesn't really work on him, and they beat it, and that's it. Great issues. Love this. I give this a 10 out of 10. Yes. Like, if you're not a fan of some of the current DC has, check out this book. This book is pure, awesome at its finest. Basically, everything gets developed over the course of 80 issues, though 81 was a bonus. Damn good book. Quite possibly one of the best books released, in my opinion, was, I wasn't reading at the time, but this is my opinion. This is by far one of the best books released in the 90s that's not Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, or The Flash. If it's not one of these 5 characters, a lot of people think, oh, the comics are not that popular. But this book was really good. Another really good book that I have read but haven't fully reviewed yet is Power of Shazam. That's not a good one. Of course, yes, there's Neil Gaiman's Sandman, but that was wrapping up by the time the 90s was starting. But I do count that as another really good one from the 90s for DC. Excuse me. I would say JLA. Yes. Justice League America, the first half of the 90s was really good. It seems like after the Dan Jurgens stuff was done, it was like okay for a while. But it's not like as popular as the other ones are. But this book, in case you're curious though, was there like anything else released in Starman? Was 80 like the last issue? Yes. I've heard it was a contract issue from what I read online. And there's also this thing where, here's the weird thing. Jack Knight, since this book wrapped up, he's made like 1 or 2 appearances this book wrapped up. I have heard that was due to a contract thing with James Robinson. That's what I read online. But at least James Robinson still worked with DC Comics for a while to put out good books. He will return to the Shade in 2011. After that Blackest Night issue, to do a very good limited series, which I have reviewed. Check out my review for Shade by James Robinson and Cully Hammer. It's excellent. It's 12 issues, another really good book. It's more like a bonus book to this book here. Yep. But with that, final thoughts of this book, it's amazing. Check it out. Trades maybe about $50, but get it, it's really good. My gosh, it's really good. Here's another good book. We have Shazam, the world's mightiest mortal. And that's the title of the series, not the title of the character. I'm not sure why the heck DC Comics that was a good idea for a period of 10 years to call the character Shazam, even though that's the name of the wizard. And also the word he says to when he becomes Captain Marvel. Imagine if he introduced himself to somebody, hey, my name is Shazam, and he goes back to Billy Batson. Does that sound stupid? It does. So this book mostly contains the first 18 issues, except for issue 8. 8 is a reprint of the original, this is, of course, the original Shazam book released in the 70s. Okay, so how did this book come about, per se? From what I've read online, it was due to DC licensing the character from Foster Comics. After they sued them! Because they thought this character was way too similar to Superman! All because he wore the color red. Okay, no, that's not the reason why. Okay, so they sued him. They alleged that he's basically just... They thought he was way too similar to Superman. In actuality, he isn't. He's powered by magic. He's not alien. And also, Superman stole something from him that, well, Captain Marvel still has this very day. But prior to the lawsuit, Superman could not fly. He leaped tall buildings. Yeah, they basically took that from him. And the lawsuit was completely ridiculous. And is my personal theory, now I wasn't around at the time, wasn't alive back then, that the reason why the lawsuit happened was because this character dared to outsell Superman. So I guess some people at DC are like, hey, this guy's outselling Superman. He must be ripping off Superman. So we're going to sue Foster Comics over this character. And oh boy, it is so... And that's the reasoning for the lawsuit. Like, the sale thing basically is a good possibility reason for it because they were purely jealous. Like, oh, someone's outselling our Superman. Sue them! And yet they licensed the character and eventually bought Foster Comics. And they brought the Shazam, the character of Foster Comics in DC Comics continuity, which, now, it's a small group of characters. Not like, let's say, what happened in New 52, where they brought in the characters from Wildstorm, which was a lot of characters, and the characters Vertigo, and with DC Comics, merge them all to one. Okay, that, in my opinion, was still to say not a good idea. But this group, I mean, it's fine. It's a small number of superheroes. So, it is established in this book that it's been 20 years since, basically, he last appeared. Not just chronologically, but publication chronologically wise, because Billy Batson's like, why are you still the same? Well, he was spending animation. That's the reason why for it. Also, Denny knew that some of the writing for these issues, but he's not the only writer. He also has Elias Migan, and he knows some better with C.C. Beck, who I think was the creator of the character back in the 50s, 40s, basically original character. Dave Cockrum, Bob Oscar, Beas Kalita, Kurt Savageberger, Dick Giordano, Pat Broderick, who was probably the only person I met working on this book, and Tex Bristol. This cover here is done by Michael Cho. Now, Denny O'Neil just does the first issue, first two stories in the first issue. He does I think he does pretty much up into issue number 4. Most of it does the opening story. Most of it just either him or, Brittle or Migan basically does the writing here. So, the artwork is done in the style of the original comic published by Wiz. And my guess is the reason why they did this because... my personal guess is because they probably brought the artist in because people are familiar with this style compared to whatever style they used back in the 70s. So they go with the old cartoonish style. So they explain about his backstory. Oh yeah, and this issue explains that he was spending animation for 20 years. All because Dr. Savannah's children. And eventually Mary Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. comes back. So a lot of the other issues are basically him trying to adjust to the 70s. And of course Mr. Mind is here too. And there's also a formation of the Monster of Evil here too with Ibac, who for some reason thinks it's a good idea to hit on Dr. Savannah's daughter, who looks like a guy, but it's girl. Faced against bank robbers. Also, these issues were noteworthy being 100 pages apiece. Because it was the 70s, because it was a cheap way to basically send this up. So, 8 is not in here, like I mentioned, because the whole issue is a reprint of like 5 or 6 different comic books. Well, stories, very comics, and of course they have various reprints across his issues. So he also returned the rest of our family, like Uncle Dudley. Taki Tani is not in here in these issues for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it's still really fun. And plus, nice to see Dr. Savannah again. There's wacky hijinks throughout this whole book. And I appreciate, though, that the writers of this book write in the style people are familiar with. Yeah, my guess is that Dan India probably knew about this, but he probably didn't want to upset people who are fans of the character. So he wrote the book. Him and the other two guys, Elias Megan and Edness Bridwell, they probably were in the style of the original Fawcett comics, so to keep the same tone, because this feels like, as I've read some of the Fawcett comics, this is written in the same tone as that, and the artwork is similar to the same, so they probably brought C.C. Beck in as the main artist. But really fun issues. Give this book roughly a 9. Actually, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because it's good. It's a shame that Captain Marvel's got this really unfortunate thing where, with the exception of Power Shazam, maybe this book, it seems like whenever any time that he has a comic book, it cannot last very long. And this is not due to sales. That's not the reason for it. The common theory out there why his books don't last very long, because DC, some people with DC, still to this day, have this stupid conspiracy theory that this character would dare outsell Superman even though they own both characters. That is 100% completely true. They still think that this very day. Despite the fact Fawcett Comics has been gone for about 50 years, they still freaking think that. Yes, they do. It is so dumb. But this is the first 3 trades for this book here. I do have 2 more left to go. I do have a 3rd one on order from the library. I haven't got the second book I read online, but some really interesting stuff here. Excuse me. So that's pretty much it, particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. Next up is Sugar Tensai. Okay, next video. Bye.